And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dog with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. Yeah, we've got a pod. We'll break it down for you. And if you haven't already heard analysis, we've got a lot to talk about sleep. So I'm glad we're in the lab. And, yeah, let's get it.
Oh, it might be the best episode we've ever had. We're going to dive right in. I mean, golly, guys. You saw it. We saw it. Everybody saw it. Wasn't a good look. But here we are, right? So we're going to dive in. We'll do a little analysis of the Duke game. Ask Big Hawk what changes you think we need to start making to win some games here. Lost 4 of the last 5, so reeling a little bit. But hey, as we always do here on SleepHawk Worldwide, man, this is a silver lining podcast. We're gonna look for the good in things. Too much bad going on in the world. Talk about the games we got up next. Pitt at home, Clemson on the road. Dabble in the Luca AD trade. I know you're gonna get a big. Look. We've learned through the metrics. Not a lot of NBA fans. Okay, I'm the guy that was saying, "Hey, it's a great product. You should watch it." Rating come out as the lowest ratings NBA have had in about 40 years. So true to form, I wouldn't listen to a whole lot of things old Sleep Dog has to say about it, but that was a big deal. I think a lot of people are real interested in that, so we'll talk about that. But let's get it started with the state of the Tar Heels and the Dr. Big Hawk. Professor Hawk. Tell us about the Tar Heels and, the state of things. Like, where are we at here? Everybody know we got a little ramshackled here over the weekend. But, where do we go from here? Where are we at? Where do we go?
All right, so first of all, we're going to discuss the net rankings. Obviously, these are the rankings put out by the NCAA. This is what the selection committee uses to judge teams. We're at 45th, and our net ranking is 45. If you look at it overall, the positives of this ranking, we have no quad 3, no quad 4 losses. With that said, we have 1 quad 2 loss, and I'm guessing that's Stanford, if I had to remember correctly. And they were 1-9 in Q1s. When you play this many quad 1 games, you would hope to get more than 1. Here's the kind of the Mount Everest that we're going to be facing the rest of the year is we're not going to have many other quad 1 opportunities. We've had a lot of them. We had a tough schedule, pre-conference schedule as well. One of the toughest in college basketball. So the 2 remaining games right now that are going to be quad 1 games are at Clemson. That's going to be a tough task, and home against Duke. We'd love to get that one, but we know what we have to, like, we saw what Duke is about this year. Right now we're 6-5 in ACC play. We have an uphill climb, but you know what? It is what it is. It's not the time to get emotional, cry about it, or quit. We still have a lot of ball games to play, and obviously there's a lot of things to fix, and there's going to be some chances, to get some wins. And if you don't look at it, if you're on this team and you get it caught up in what other people are saying right now, and you get a little emotional. Things look bad now. They could look much worse if you don't handle yourself right. And if I'm in that locker room, I'm not listening to anybody on the outside, because nobody's going to be positive at this point. It's been a disappointing year, but the year is not over, and it can be much more disappointing if you don't handle yourself in this time. So, Sleep, we can we can look at it more. The ranking's not great. The metrics against the top teams in college basketball aren't that great. But that's where we are right now.
Well, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'll put lipstick on this pig. All right. I'm going to start off by, calling a pig a pig. We're 39th in points, 74th in field goal percentage, 273rd in 3-point percentage, 63rd in free throws attempted, very un-Carolina-like, but we don't have a lot of bigs. 255 in offensive rebounding. Makes sense. Don't have a lot of offensive rebounders. 86 in rebounding. 138 in assists, 259 in steals, so we ain't playing much defense either. And it's just like all these things, and these things, like, it's one thing if you're 40th, it doesn't feel right? But there's 20 teams in there that you ain't never heard of. But when you start falling outside of the top 50 in any category, or like, categories like rebounding that Carolina's sort of made its name on, it's sort of like paints a picture here that's subsidized by, the net 45 was actually surprising to me. But when you go back and you actually think about, it's just hard to believe the product we saw on the floor the other night, lost 4 out of the last 5, doesn't look great. But then, like, at the beginning of the year, I mean, we're playing Kansas close. We're playing a lot of these teams close, Michigan State and all this stuff. And here's what's interesting to me. And this is, again, like, we're looking for the silver lining here. The team's not playing well, all right, by Carolina standards. Expectations were sky high in comparison to where we're at right now. But it is what it is. This is where we're at. You go look on Saturday after, we lose to Duke handily. I mean, we lose by 17, and honestly, didn't seem that close to me. But you go down the slate of top 25s, and this is college basketball at this point, dude. Iowa State at home loses, the number 3 team in the country, loses by 19 to a 10-11 Kansas State. Florida loses to Tennessee. Okay, at Tennessee. Tennessee's a good team. Florida, very good team. Score 44 points. Houston loses at home to Texas Tech. Michigan State, number 7 in the country, loses 13-8 USC. Marquette, number 9 in the country, loses 16-6 UConn. UConn's a great team, right? Great coach, all that sort of stuff. Kansas loses to 14-7 Baylor. These I'm just going down the list. There's a couple wins sprinkled in here. Kentucky loses to 13-8 Arkansas, 2-6 in the SEC. Granted, a little added flavor there with Calipari and coming back, right? Texas A&M gets pushed to the brink against 10-12 South Carolina. That Texas A&M 13 team in the country, 14 team in the country. Mississippi State. How'd that happen? Lose to Missouri at home. Going down here, Georgia Tech beats Louisville. 10-12. Georgia Tech beats 21 Louisville. And Oklahoma, it's like, dude, almost every team in the top 25 lost. Got upset. So it's just look, there's a lot of things I think that Carolina needs to change. What are they? I got no idea, buddy. I peaked in middle school, eighth grade A-team basketball. So who am I to sort of throw stones? I'm a Tar Heel fan through and through. So I want to see him figure it out and right the ship here. But look, the fact of the matter is we're on the downside of a weird year, right? There's there's 2 or 3 teams at the top that are the top dogs, and then everybody else is mediocre, in my opinion. If you're watching any college basketball, buddy, there's 3 teams that are great, and there's about 300 teams that there's no explaining it, really. So, for me, that's the silver lining, right? It's easy to sit here and look at Carolina, and I do it. Like, lose 4 of the last 5. We lost 3 in a row early in the season. You got all these expectations. Just ain't playing well. Just ain't playing up to standard. Like, it's frustrating sometimes to watch these games. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it's just a microcosm of a much bigger thing that's going on with college basketball. I don't know if it's the parity because of the NIL and if that's only going to get worse because you're seeing, not the game getting worse, the parity, I guess becoming more prevalent. And then again, I think we said this on the last pod, like I don't follow recruiting that much, but you feel like Carolina just cannot catch a break, cannot, get over this hump. And then they get like this kid is top 5, 10 recruit. I mean, maybe that changes everything next year. I don't know. You don't know until they play, but at the end, I mean, those are the things I'm looking for is like, dude, it's easy to see. It's easy to rag on the team, Hubert, whatever. But look, I'm just looking for what are the positives here. And that segues, I think, kind of nicely in like, you know, I mean, what changes? We can either start with a Duke analysis and sort of pick that apart as if there's much to go to there, or we can just kind of say like, hey, like, you know, what changes do we need to make to win games this year?
Well, I think if I'll touch on a little bit of my thoughts on the Duke game, and I think that will kind of lead into the analysis. First of all, I'll just give you my impressions on the Duke game, and there's been a reoccurring theme, and we've talked about it on this podcast, is early on in the year, we started games in holes. You look at how we started against Kansas, how we started against Michigan State, Dayton. We won that game by miracle. We got down big, and we got down big a lot. And if you look at the Duke game, we got down by 32 points. And that to me is, okay, first of all, the way we started that game reminded me of early on in the year, we couldn't figure out why we're starting games not ready to play. And, you know, the upsetting part is we knew the gravity of this game, and you knew how good Duke was, and you knew the hype that they were getting. And you knew how Carolina fans, we were like, yeah, you know, even though we weren't having the year we wanted, as a Carolina fan, you know, you build up some type of energy and you believe, hey, we're going to like, yeah, let's go. And, you know, I was excited. I had this mindset, we're going to go into Cameron, we're going to hand them an L. But, you know, the game was over as soon as the ball was tipped. Duke brought it to us right from the get. We get down 32 points. We dig ourselves a huge hole. And how did we get down by 32 points? We had unforced, lackadaisical turnovers to start with. And I really felt like, you know, we kind of went out there, we tossed the ball around, we're a little bit lazy, a little bit casual, couple quick turnovers, and then Duke started really putting pressure on our guards. They were switching everything, and then we started turning it over because we weren't prepared for their pressure. And then all of a sudden, Duke is getting out in transition. They're getting dunks. Cooper Flagg's out there leading the break. And, you know, we weren't ready to start the game. And I'll say this, Duke is they're a contender to win the whole thing. And, you know, what they have on that team, you cannot start the game the way we did in Cameron, expect to win. First of all, you cannot turn the ball over like that. And even though Duke was switching, they were switching everything. Maluwatch was on RJ. He was on Trimble. He was on Cadeau. And it just felt like, you know, as a young player, sometimes when you see that big on those point guards and you think it's a mismatch, it's not always a smart move to think you have a mismatch and then try to expose it. Okay, where you take advantage of the mismatch a lot of times is you put that big into defensive rotations and you work the ball around and you make him work because he's not used to guarding on the perimeter, and then you can get him out of position and you can get easy buckets on that. You've got to move better. You just can't sit around and pound the ball and then pull the big out. We've got to have better spacing and movement in our half-court sets. I would correct that. And I said before the game, how do we win at Cameron? We've got to get out in transition, and we've got to play with more tempo. The reason I said that is because Duke is the biggest team in college basketball. Maluwatch 7'2", Cooper Flagg 6'10", Knipple 6'6", Proctor 6'5", 6'6". Their whole starting line is 6'6" and above. We are very small. Our backcourt is, you know, you could make an argument everyone's under, 6 foot or right around it, and there's not a lot of size. So we don't want to get into that half court set and try to, finish around their length. So we'd have to get out, push the ball, and make sure we got in transition. That way we can try and get some easy buckets. And also, I said this on the our preview getting to the foul line, which we didn't do. Getting to the foul line is a great example of how you were attacking the rim. When you're aggressive offensively, it shows up in the free throw attempts. And I really felt like, it's first of all, I'll say Duke has 2 losses, Kentucky and Kansas. And the common theme in those losses, both Kentucky and Kansas got to the free throw line. They got fouls, and they were offensively aggressive. I really felt like that was maybe a little bit of a formula to try to get a win. And I will just say I felt like we settled for some outside shots, not necessarily the best shots, but the first look, and we kind of settled. And I think we've got to get better looks. I've said this all year. We've got to find ways to get better quality looks. And what I take away from this game, first of all, I analytically, when I look at all the numbers, I don't care what the numbers say for this game. And the reason I say that is because the eye test shows that at no point in this game did I think we had any chance at winning. I do not think that there was an aspect of basketball that we controlled against Duke. And I don't care if you look at, we rebounded. I just don't think that when I watched the game, I wasn't like, hey, you know what, we're rebounding with them. I felt like Duke could have got rebounds when they wanted. And I felt like they got the tougher rebounds when it counted, in segments of the game. When we needed to get stops and rebounds, Duke got multiple opportunities. They got second chance points. One stat I will throw out there, because I said it's very important, we've got to cut down on these turnovers, and especially these unforced turnovers. Duke had 19 points off of turnovers. That's a huge margin. They capitalized on that. But Sleep, with all that said, the one positive I will say, and I don't look at it as like we won the second half. We didn't win the second half. I really felt like they took their foot off the gas just a little bit. I will say I thought Drake Powell played aggressive late in the second, and I think he got comfortable. I like seeing that from Drake. I thought he, at times he just said, give me the ball, let me go to the basket and create something. And the reason I like that is because he does have length, he has athleticism, and I really felt like he attacked the basket at times. And he's one of those players that has athletic ability and the length to get shots up over the defenders that have, Duke length and athleticism. So I did like that. I thought Lubin showed a little fight at times. He had a spurt where he blocked a couple shots, got some rebounds. But outside that, Sleep, I really felt like we've got to start the game better, and we've got to commit to some style of like everyone being on the same page. Like, this is what we're going to run. We're going to be better in our defensive rotations. I felt like Flagg had a lot of open looks. We've lost him. And, when you're playing against a team that has somebody like a Cooper Flagg, you've got to be aware of where they're at. I mean, he's the best player in college basketball. How could you leave him for open looks? You can't allow that. But with all that said, you've got to start the game better than that, and you've got to be more competitive. You just can't come out there. You've got to be ready to start games. And I really felt like we lost this one in the first 5 minutes of the game just because Duke came out, and they came out to kick our ass. And they handed it to us from the get, and we got in a huge hole. And, heck, we can't climb back against a team like Duke. They're too talented, and they're too good.
It's interesting because I was looking at the little win probability tool they have on ESPN, and you mentioned 5 minutes. At just under 5 minutes, they had a 96+% chance of winning, and it never got below that. I mean, they spent the 3/4 of the game, 99% chance of winning the game. Now, this is just interesting, right? Doesn't mean you can't, go on a run second half. I'm with you. It's interesting because, they outscored us by 10 at the free throw line. You mentioned it, getting to the basket, right? And they're a more athletic team. They're bigger. I think, frankly, I think Duke's just a better team, period. Like that's what
no
I think.
question.
It's like it's miserable to say. It's miserable, but one thing that a Carolina fan will be that a Duke fan will never be is honest. Okay, and then you mentioned it, the points off turnover. So right there, I mean, there's 12 and there's 10 and there's 22, and somehow that game was, to your point, if there's any silver lining in it, is to get down 32 and lose by 17. I mean, to a team that's that good, I do feel like, okay, like but if you go look at the team stats side by side, it's like, few shots, there's a big free throw disparity, rebounds, they out assisted, out stole, and I just feel like, obviously got, points off turnover. So those are the two things that really just jumped out to me. At the end, though, you can look at the stats all you want, but if you watch the game, it was never in question. Here's what occurred to me. And it's interesting because I think, Ian Jackson's had a couple games where, man, he was playing great. And then, he's had a couple games that he probably wish you had back. Isn't, what I'm saying? Like he just has had a couple games that are below the level he had been playing prior. And it occurred to me of like the recipe that has worked for the Tar Heels in recent years, really since like the 17, and I think even that 17 team, which is get some guys and keep them together and build a core over a long period of time. And so I think, if you look at it last year, you had it with RJ, you had it with Baycott and a lot of the other guys. They were, like you said in the last pod, they were a 1 seed, right? Now my attention turns to like, hey, Ian Jackson was thought by a lot to be a one and done guy. NIL changes a lot of things, right? Can you bring back Jackson and Drake Powell? And can you bring back, what is Washington is a junior, right?
Who?
Jalen Washington Jr., right? Can you return your core group, build chemistry, bring in this kid, that's just by all accounts a star in the making, right? And can you go into the transfer portal, right, and get some upperclassmen to play? That if I'm a Carolina fan, like trying to make sense of all this, and oh, by the way, I am, right? Like it's a long game here. You got to think about it from the program standpoint. What can we do to, the worst thing I think can happen is Carolina, these guys like fly the coop or they go to, they go transfer or they go to the NBA. I think the differentiator in today's college basketball is, can you build a core unit and roll a team out there multiple years in a row and make that team and add the pieces that are missing? Look, it doesn't look for why it happened. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was money, maybe it was whatever, but missing on Dickinson and missing on a lot of the bigs that were out there. I mean, that could literally change everything on this team. There's just not your traditional big physical presence inside. We have no size, right? Can you go get that? And then you come, that's just my 2 cents on. I really think that you got to start look. The odds of this team making the tournament are, I'll call them slim. And I hate to say it, but I just don't think, I don't think it's going to happen. So, I'm the biggest fan of it. I'm big a fan as any big fan out there. I want it to work. I want it to work with the people. Buddy, I cheer for him every single game. This is not a knock on anybody. This is just life, right? Like it just happens that way sometimes. So my mind goes to like, all right, you want to talk about what can we do to win games? Well, I think it starts now as a matter of pride, right? It's like, hey, let's go out here and remember, who we are, why we came here. A guy like RJ, I think everybody on that team owes it to a guy like him, to ride this out. And who knows, man? Maybe you do get hot and win the conference championship. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's possible, right? I just think it's unlikely. So, I don't know. For me, it's more about like, all right, let's just be realistic. Look ahead. Look at what we got to do. And I don't even know when that starts. Like, when do you even start looking for people in the portal, right? I mean, you got to know who's in the portal.
Yeah.
But.
Well, listen, in Jackson, I do not see him coming back. I think he's going to go into the draft.
This kid's a great player.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I'd love to have him back. But, yeah, I mean, kid's going to be a star.
I think we would be pretty hopeful thinking he would come back. And, listen, I've seen some draft boards that has Drake as high as a top 10 pick. So, I would
but now with the money, that's my and dude, your opinion is like so much more valuable than mine. But I just wonder that with the money.
I do not think that we're going to have NIL money to justify somebody not being a top 10 pick. And that's most programs, unless you're the BYU kid. But Sleepy, I mean, one thing that keeps being a recurring theme is, man, if we just had a big, there hasn't been a lot of consistent play from anybody on this team this year. I mean, we've all had, and I think that is just an excuse that people are kind of just regurgitating over and over. Listen, they're like, we can't put all the blame on not having a big. Okay,
yeah.
There's a lot of blame to go around, and listen, having a big is not going to make you start games better, okay? It's not going to stop us from having careless turnovers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to stop us from running at times and then just grabbing the ball and strolling down the court. Okay, if we want to be an up-style tempo team and we want to run, listen, we run after makes. We run after misses, okay? The big gets the ball out of bounds. The guard better be clapping his hands. When he gets the ball, he's leading the break, and he's coming back down the defense back, okay? You dunking on us, okay, big get the ball out, pass it to the guard, get back, okay? We're going. We don't care. We're going to try to get a good look. And you know what? If we don't get our option, then we start working it around, okay? We don't just pound the ball until it's out of air, okay? We make the defense work. We're not going to settle for the first easy look, okay? We're going to work it around, play team basketball, and we're not going to turn it over. And, that's if I'm looking how to correct this ship right now and try to get some good wins and try to build some momentum leading into the ACC tournament and build some type of confidence and belief that we can turn around, it's got to be with the starts and the turnovers, okay? We've got to start games, and this has been a recurring theme, and then we've got to commit to that up-style tempo game. That's where I go at, and that's how I can see us getting some wins. And listen, these next two games are big, okay? Pitt at home, okay, that's going to be big. What did Pitt do late in the game against us when we should have won it? They switched absolutely everything, and they really put that defense into a sagging kind of a man, little bit of zone action, and we struggled with it. So we've got to prep and know that they're going to be doing that, and we've got to be prepared for that. I would go over some late game execution stuff and try to figure out how we can get buckets when we need to it, okay? Because we've had a lot of close games, getting buckets when we need it is going to be very helpful. And maybe we can, come out of some of these games where we've had some close ones. We've won. You look at the game against BC, we came back and won that one. And we've got to find ways to score. And also, we got to play better disciplined basketball. We can't have frustration fouls. We can't get upset because we didn't get a whistle, then make an undisciplined or careless foul that puts other team to the free throw line. That's where I would begin with. And listen, I know everyone's upset, but there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and they can get some good wins. I mean, there's not a lot of wins to really help your resume outside of Clemson and home at Duke. So I don't really care about that right now. This team should be inside the locker room and worrying about how to win against Pitt at home, who they just beat us at Pitt. So you've got to have some type of steam, and also you just got thumped from your rivals, so you've got to be extra motivated. You can't be down or upset because you just lost or you're feeling bad. No, you got to be hungry, and that's where I would start with. I would really be happy for these guys if they came out from the start against Pitt and really brought it. And they played hard the whole game. And, anything can happen, and they pulled it out a win. I would love to see that. That's how I'd start this sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, it's just you're exactly right. Like you talked about it almost all season long, getting behind that sort of stuff, and it's a great point about the big and getting out, and, starting kind of slow and all that sort of stuff. I just, I wonder if, it occurs to me that maybe it's not, I think everybody goes like, what's wrong? What's the chemistry? What's the coach? Everybody's talking about all these things. But at the end of the day, maybe it's none of that and it just doesn't work, right? Maybe you just got a roster construction. Maybe you just got guys that, for whatever reason, the nuance of their complementary attributes just don't equate to winning basketball games. And I'm with you 100% on getting better starts and then a hustle. But it's not like I look at this team. I definitely feel sometimes like I look and I'm like, dude, it's 9 seconds on the shot clock and we ain't borrowed the ball inside the timeline, right? There's those things, right? Mm-hmm. But I never look at this team and I'm like, they just quit. I don't look at that. I really truly don't. They get a little shell shocked. And like the Duke game was a prime example where it's like they're looking around. I'm like, brother, these dudes are good. So I think that's the thing I try to keep in mind is like this team doesn't like piss me off in the sense that I feel like they're not trying, right? And maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe it's just that for whatever reason it just isn't quite working the way everybody wanted it to. So look, man, I think I'm just looking at it game to game, seeing like what happens next. Reality is we've won. We had a stretch where I think we went like 8-2 in the middle of the year. I think if we go 8-2 from here, we're 21-12, and it's weird to think about it right now because I don't even know if we got 8 games left, but something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, right? Let's say we go 9-2. All right. What did I just say? That means we're 22-12. One of those wins has to be against Clemson or Duke, preferably Duke. And then at that point, like it's just insane. And then you win a couple games in the tournament. It's insane, really, I think, at this juncture to think about it. But like, is it possible if you got a net rank inside the top 30 and a 12-loss team? Look, what was it last year? Somebody got in the play-in and wound up running. So, look, anything's possible. Certainly, I don't know, just a ton of places to point blame. And at the end of the day, it's just like, hey, what can these guys change? So, Pitt at home, you're right. At Clemson, it starts looking like must win pretty quickly in some of these games. So anyway, speaking of unlikely, I know this is a college, largely UNC slant. We've done some NBA stuff in the past. Nobody really seems to care, but guys, this Luca Doncic for Anthony Davis trade, buddy, that shocked the world. And guys, Sleep Dog, I'm an NBA I love the NBA. And you got Windhorse on Windy, dude. He's like, the storyline is, and I got a buddy, by the way. Shout out to Weston from Oak City Sports Cards. Okay. Wes is from Texas. Dude, absolutely. His favorite human being of all time is Dirk Nowitzki. Okay. His second is Luca. I watched this guy meet Luca Doncic and he just melted like an ice cream cone right in front of me. Because like guys like 40 years, like my age. His son's named Luca, all this stuff. Like he texts me at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, OMG. And I thought he was talking about the Duke Carolina, because all this went down the night of the Duke Carolina game. It was late at night. I wake up in the morning and it's like, dude, Luca Doncic just got traded and everybody thought Shams got hacked. My question for you, Big Hawk, is this, I want to say the biggest trade in the NBA, but that's just easy. That's an easy yes to me. The only trade that I could imagine being a bigger shocker than this is when Babe Ruth got traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees. Is there a bigger trade in the history of sports that you can think of besides this one? Or a shocker? I mean, sure, I'll let my question stand.
No, it's not. And didn't Dallas just go to the finals?
Went to the finals, buddy.
Luca
is 25 years old. I think Luca looks like he's about 30. Luca is 25. Like, I could probably be Luca Doncic's father.
Let me just say something. And the funniest part is the Mavs GM, Nico Harrison, his press conference where he's there with Jason Kidd, Dallas Mavericks head coach. And he said, I kept this from Jason. I know the type of player he likes. I don't have to discuss personnel. I know the architect. I know how to structure this roster with players that he likes. And Jason Kidd just sitting there like
hat on kind of backwards, all just like looks like somebody literally smacked him and his hat spun around.
Yeah, Jason. Listen, I think it was an awful trade.
I think it was terrible.
And the reason I say this because I think Luca. AD's had a lot of injuries. He's older. Everyone says he's a great defender. I don't see the defensive hype that everyone associates with AD. I just don't get it. I think he's kind of soft a little bit at times. And I'm not saying that Luke is a defensive guy. He's absolutely not. But I just don't like that. I think Luka just led his team to the finals. There's been some questionable moves from Dallas. I just think this is a horrible trade, Sleep, and I know you're an NBA guy, so I'm waiting to hear what you think about this.
So here's my God's honest opinion. Okay, I think it's a bad trade for a number of reasons, but I wouldn't be. Here's the thing about AD is with Kyrie, with Klay Thompson. Honestly, with Max Christie, like Max Christie's a solid young player. He's 21 years old or something like that. 21 or 22. Like Max Christie's not a guy that's going to be. I'm not saying he's an all-star, but Max Christie's a guy that's going to play in the league for 10 or 12 years at least. He's a good player. Like my initial reaction was like, my initial reaction went to like, well. I think I can understand this. Not that it's not, but the fact of the matter is, I think Luka is like, dude, he really pissed somebody off. Like, I don't know why. The front office, dude, Mark Cuban literally said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, that he would divorce his wife before he traded Luca Doncic. And like Luka when it comes to this, man, it's like, all right, first of all, you just got to be realistic. Whether you really like Luka as a player, whether you think he's a defensive liability or not, that dude is top 5 NBA, period. Like to trade a top 5 dude, you better be real sure about it. To trade him you got to be trading him for somebody that is like, and here's the thing. They had one call. All the reports say they only talked to the Lakers. And that's what Windhorst said, was like, I just wonder if they were going to trade him. Like, dude, could you imagine like the players they could have gotten? I mean, you could have traded him to, I don't know, the Magic and gotten like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, right? You could have traded him to Detroit, got Cade Cunningham and, well, that's pretty much all they got. Look, Detroit made the playoffs, right? You could trade him to Houston and get assets, right, that are young and already sort of like the fact that they just like had one phone call and traded him for AD. And I'm with you on AD. I think AD is like, I always had questions about AD, but then you watch him when he's healthy, and dude, he's a top 5 guy. But he's just not like, and the Lakers basically said, Pelinka was like, hey, well, when LeBron's gone, I just don't know that he can carry the team. Well, we know that Luca can carry the team, and you're always going to be able to pull a second guy into LA, right? I don't think it's crazy to think that Dallas will be shitty because they still have Lively. This is the thing, though, I really don't understand. They have Gafford. They have Lively. And now they have Anthony Davis. They have Kyrie. But, like, I just feel like Luka was a better slot for that team than AD is. And I also wonder about the Lakers. I mean, I get where the Lakers are coming from. They're like, hey, man, LeBron bails. We got Luka. So we're going to make sure we're good. But, dude, for all the stuff people are talking about the Lakers are fifth in the West, dude. They've been playing great. Like, they're going to make the playoffs easily, and they look good. They could have gone out and got Vujacic or somebody, or De'Aaron Fox, and then, like, not have to give up Davis. So, I don't know, man. It's a puzzling – it seems like, honestly, from both sides, dude, if you can get Luca Doncic, you get Luca Doncic. And that's what the front office Pelinka said at LA is like, hey, it takes a lot to get a lot in the NBA. So I see absolutely why somebody calls you up and is like, hey, you want Luca Doncic? You're like, dude, who do you want? Like, if they had traded LeBron James, I think I might have been less surprised than if they traded Luca Doncic. Anyway, I just think it's like, it's the craziest trade I've ever seen happen.
Yeah, and Dallas's GM said it all started over a cup of coffee with Rob Pelinka.
Yeah.
And he said he brought it up. Is like, hey, would you ever do this trade? And he's like, well, let me think about that. And that's what kicked it all off.
I mean, it's just, hey, look, here it is. Bill Belichick is the coach of the Carolina Tar Heels. And it ain't take the world but 30 days to come up with something even crazier than that, which is Luka Doncic. Maybe that's a good argument to have. Is like, what's crazier, Bill Belichick coaching the Tar Heels or Luka Doncic getting traded to the Lakers? Anyway, I mean, that's crazy. I can't, and they're both hurt. Neither one of them playing right now, and I don't even know when they're coming back. So much ado about nothing. But anyway, and Luka, the reason they got rid of him was he's been on them crab cakes, dude. He's been getting a little too sideways of Jimmy's crab cakes because, like, he's a big boy. And you start looking at some of the, like, they start going through these highlight reels, and you look at Luka now, buddy, Luka's got some LBs on him. And, they're talking about these little calf strains and all this sort of stuff. Like, that's why they allegedly were pissed with him. But, I mean, dude weighs 260 and putting up triple-double every night. I mean, I'd find a way to get over it. Anyway, just crazy times. So, Kuminga's back in a week or two. That's all I care about.
Oh, I can't wait.
Dude, you got to go to the game with me. Hornets game. Okay, Sleep Dog at courtside. Baseline courtside. Like, I DM'd Jonathan Kuminga and was like, hey, listen, dude. Long shot here, but let me see. Let me see if he's gotten back to me. No, ain't looking like it.
He'll get back.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I sent it yesterday. The guy's busy. JK, if you're out there, brother, I just want to say what's up. The game. Promise it won't get weird. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.